Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to do that with this, but so this is this first very professional pass-through. And I won't get into all the technology that's been involved with this, but let's just say it's the state-of-the-art. It's incredibly complex because you have to do it in a very special way when it's not fresh DNA. If you take a blood sample from you or me, it's very easy to run that and match it against what have you in these computers. When you're taking what's called ancient DNA, ancient meaning decades to hundreds of years, doesn't mean it has to be thousands of years old. There's a whole different set of protocols that kick in, and that's why it took us from October until really just now to begin to get these results back, because it has to be handled in a very specific way because you're dealing with DNA that's not fresh right out of a living organism, and that's a very different handling and processing. I'm not going to go into it because we'd be here for hours talking about stuff that would put people to sleep. But the point I'm making is it's been done by someone who now has his whole system set up, where if we get more samples, Dr. Nolan is excited about running them because now that's been worked out with the best people in the world at Stanford, MIT, teams that he's working with in Germany, all over the world. And by the way, this is a man who's on National Institutes of Health committees. I mean, it's a very, very senior scientist. So God bless him. Dr. Nolan's really done an enormous amount of work in the last 6 months without charge, I might add. I mean, he has done this in the interest of advancing science, as did Dr. Lockman. And so these are real heroes scientifically to take this on, amazingly, to do this. And we're very, very fortunate to have scientists of this pedigree and at this level of expertise willing to investigate something like this. But, from their perspective, because I know I've spoken to them, is that, my goodness, I mean, if forget the whole ET angle, if there's a previously unknown humanoid, human-like creature, or even if it's just a syndrome never seen before, this is scientific history, any way you slice it. And if it's what we think it is, it's transformative. I mean, this is an earth-shaking history being made. I think ultimately we're never going to be, you can't, there is no, one thing I want to point out to people, we don't have a database of different ETs and their genetic matrix to match this one up. You see what I'm saying? We're trying to match this humanoid up, comparing it to humans.
Exactly. It's a process of exclusion. It's not this, it's not that.
Correct.
You don't have anything to compare it to that's going to be similar.
And that's why it's very difficult. And I think people, take these leaps of language, and I'm trying to be incredibly precise. We cannot say it's ET, but we can't say that it's any known human or human syndrome. It most certainly isn't just an ejected fetus that was lost at 15 to 25 weeks. It has bone development of, according to Dr. Lockman, of a 6 to 8-year-old. It has what appears to be a Y chromosome, so it should be male. It has markers in its mitochondria that would be from the mother, that's the B2A that you find in that part of Chile that are in humans. And then it opens up the enormously controversial discussion. Was this some type of epigenetic life form? Epigenetic meaning augmented hybrid. And, of course, there's a whole area of genetics that are beginning to be looked at in terms of augmenting and doing experiments with the genome. But, of course, this would have been way predated human technology to do this. So is this some type of epigenetic result? We don't know. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this I have not pointed out, and I know we're going to be running out of time in a few minutes, and this is, listen very carefully. This creature did not die because of any deformity medically. It lived, and it died of a traumatic blow to the right side of the body, fracturing its right humerus, which is the upper arm, and the right side of the skull, where there is a fracture behind where our ear would be. And there is a concave area where the skull was caved in, And so there was some type of a blow. How that happened, we would be speculating. However, it wasn't because it was some kind of defected human that lived for a little while and then expired medically, which is what you would expect with a 6-week-old fetus.
Exactly.
In other words, it lived, it was up and around, it lived for some years to have the bone development and the epiphyseal plates showing what they are, and you can go ahead and look at the x-rays we have on our site and in the film Sirius. And you can see Sirius at SiriusDisclosure.com. There's a little player there you can click on and look at it. What is this? Because if, those are all true statements, and they are true statements, then the question is, had it not been for some sort of accident or trauma or blow to the right side of its body, it probably would have kept on living, maybe to the age of the one that was found in Russia, you see. So because we know it was not a fully developed, because it had clear epiphyseal plates that had not closed. So extrapolating from human x-rays, those would be of a 6 to 8-year-old. And therefore, this begins to beg the question, how could a 6-inch humanoid live in the Atacama Desert decades to hundreds of years ago? I mean, you can't keep, if you had a 6-inch baby now, trying to keep it alive at the Johns Hopkins most advanced neonatal intensive care unit, you could scarcely do it. So this is all, none of this makes any sense. And yet these are the facts, ma'am, just the facts. I'm giving you now the facts. I can begin to speculate a little bit, and in my speculation I would say that it sort of opens this question from whence we came. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be ET? And, when I founded CSETI, the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, in 1990, the motto, which we still have, is one universe, one people. Well, maybe I was more right than I knew, that not only in consciousness and higher consciousness and the non-locality and transcendence of cosmic mind that's within each of us, but maybe even down to our spiraling DNA matrix, we're more alike than dissimilar, that there's a morphogenic field in consciousness that carries through into the transcendent and through various dimensions into the physical dimension that gives rise to higher intelligent humanoid life. And we really are all related, and we really are all brothers and sisters in the cosmos. And that's my own takeaway from this, which is, I know, going a little off just the pure wearing my doctor's hat, but, that's what I feel, and that's what I think is so amazing about this whole discovery.
Well, if we go back to what I was finding in the different wisdom traditions, they say exactly that same thing. They're saying we are a universal people, we are cosmic people. And there's a really wonderful quote from a Peruvian shaman that I found. He said, "We are luminous beings on a journey through the stars. We are star travelers that have existed since the beginning of time." And that's what he's seen through through his training as a shaman, and that's also the lineage, that's the wisdom that they've held. This is coming from the Laika down in Peru. This view of ourselves as just having come from the stars, and this is just one more step in our evolution to be here.
Yes, from whence we came and to which we shall return. And so now we're at this point where we have the ability, if we can come together as a peaceful civilization, bring out these advanced technologies that we're featuring in the film Sirius, and become an enlightened civilization, that we can go back to the stars. And one of the things that's in this film, if people look at it carefully, there's a little section of it where an IBM engineer and executive is talking to the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, the secret operations at Lockheed. Ben Rich, who was head of that, stated that we have the means to take E.T. home. And at the end of his talk, he showed a disc shooting off into space. And this was to a mainstream audience before Ben Rich died. And this scientist and this engineer and executive for IBM was there. and his name is Jan Harzan, and a very good friend of mine, and he's in the film Sirius stating this. And it brings the question of when are we going to come together and let the veil fall and let the truth be known so that we can live on this planet without destroying it with oil and gas and coal, and bring out these amazing new sciences and physics, and all of us in peace return to the stars from whence we came. That's my takeaway on this, and that's really the objective of a serious disclosure. And it's a beautiful thought, and all we can say to folks is that at this point, everyone can learn to make contact with these civilizations. That's what we're doing with the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind initiative, and there's a contact app that you can link to from our website, SiriousDisclosure.com. And if you want to come out under the stars with me and practice the remote viewing and meditation techniques that facilitate this sort of contact, you're welcome to come. I know, Ann, you'll be with me in Colorado, right?
And I've had wonderful experiences both at Mount Shasta and Marco Island. The experiences were just awesome and really very moving as well.
Yeah, and it's like it's something anyone can do, and we're people who are getting these techniques down and beginning to practice them are fine. I mean, we're getting reports from people who are truck drivers in Eastern Europe and people who are in Malaysia who are having these amazing sightings and contact experiences, because the real operating system here is pure conscious mind. And in the meditative state where we go beyond the linear and beyond space and time into the higher consciousness of our true selves, we can then see distant places in space. We can make contact with these ET civilizations because their spacecraft have electronic devices that interface with very clearly coherent thought. And we can then invite them in peace to make contact with us. And when we do, they come. We have never been disappointed. And so anyway, those of you who want to join us in Colorado in June, as I mentioned, it's June 2nd to the 8th. And then here in the mountains of Virginia, we'll be here for a 3-day workshop. That's the 10th, 11th, and 12th of May, which is the day after the Virginia premiere of the film Sirius at the Paramount Theater at the Charlottesville downtown theater. And all that information is on the website. It's SIRIUS, SiriousDisclosure.com, SiriousDisclosure, all one word, .com. And I hope that those of you who can make it to these events, that I'll see you soon. And I really do want to thank you, Ann, for the great research you did. This all needs to be incorporated into a report that I can append to my own hypotheses about this little being. And I really appreciate all the work you put into looking into this for us.
Well, I so appreciate what you've done in creating this movie, just the impetus to do this and what it's cost you personally. I'm just so amazed that the research is so worthwhile, the findings. I find it so exciting, and I'm very happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all the folks at the World Puja Network for hosting us here every 2 weeks. I hope this has been informative for people, and again, if you want to see more of the information about our findings with the Atacama Humanoid and the other work we're doing, it's at SiriousDisclosure.com, and until next time, keep looking up, and God bless all of you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.